He pushed the door open thinking only about sleep, about his daughter's fever finally breaking, about how tomorrow he'd smile again even if his heart felt worn thin, and then a woman's voice cut through the dim hotel room like a blade. "There you are," she said, sharp and breathless, crossing the space in 3 fast steps. Before he could apologize, before he could even explain that he had the wrong room, her hand clamped around his wrist and she pulled him inside. The door shut, locked, and then, in a voice that carried authority and fear at the same time, she said to the stunned men at the table, "This is my fiancé." If you're already wondering how a single dad with $10 left in his wallet ended up being claimed by a billionaire CEO in a luxury hotel room, stay with me till the end, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe, because this story will remind you that sometimes the wrong door leads to the right life. Daniel Carter hadn't planned to be brave that night. He was a single father because life had decided to take more than it gave, and he'd learned to live with that. His little girl, Lily, was everything: her laugh, her stubborn courage, the way she pretended not to be scared when the world felt too big. The hotel was the cheapest he could find near the hospital, a temporary shelter between hospital visits and a job interview he prayed would change things. The room number was wrong by 1 digit. One small mistake, and suddenly he was standing in silk carpet and crystal light, surrounded by men in tailored suits whose eyes narrowed with suspicion. The woman holding his wrist didn't let go. She was tall, composed, eyes sharp with intelligence, but Daniel felt the tremor in her grip. "Smile," she whispered through clenched teeth. "Please." He didn't understand yet, but he smiled anyway, because when you're a father, you learn that sometimes you act first and figure it out later. The men looked between them, calculating. One of them scoffed. "You never mentioned a fiancé, Ms. Reed." The name meant nothing to Daniel then, but the way the room shifted told him it meant everything to them. Ava Reed was the CEO of a global tech empire, though Daniel wouldn't learn that until later. What he did know was that something dangerous hovered in the air. These men weren't guests. They were rivals, investors, predators dressed in politeness. Ava's voice steadied as she slipped her arm through his. "I like to keep my private life private," she said coolly. "But tonight," he insisted on joining me. Her eyes flicked to Daniel, a silent plea. He nodded, adding a soft laugh, playing the role like his life depended on it, because in that moment, hers did. When the men finally left, the room exhaled. Ava released him as if burned. "I'm sorry," she said, suddenly human, suddenly exhausted. "I needed a shield." Daniel raised his hands. "It's okay. I really did walk into the wrong room." He tried to leave, but she stopped him, not with force this time, but with gratitude. She explained in fragments, about a hostile takeover, about men who believed fear was leverage, about how a public engagement would make her untouchable for now. Daniel listened, thinking about Lily, about how fear looks the same in every person, rich or poor. He didn't ask for money. He didn't ask for favors. He only asked to use the phone, because his daughter was sleeping alone in the next room, and that was the one thing he couldn't compromise. Ava watched him talk to Lily, watched the way his voice softened, the way his shoulders relaxed when he heard her breathing. Something shifted in her then. Power had always been loud in her life. Love was quiet. What was supposed to be one night turned into an arrangement neither of them expected. Public appearances, dinners, photos. Daniel wore borrowed suits and felt like an imposter, but he stayed because Ava needed him, and because Lily's eyes sparkled when she met Ava, when Ava knelt to her level and learned her favorite color and listened like it mattered. The world saw a fairy tale. Daniel felt the weight of pretending. Ava felt the ache of loneliness lifting, then returning stronger when the cameras turned off.